Hi, girlfriend. Hi. It's just one of those days. It's one of those days where you want to come and sit on a stump in the pasture surrounded by overgrown stuff and just watch. Nobody really wants to move because it's on the verge of being hot, but it's not quite hot yet. There's a beautiful breeze that's keeping it just shy of being hot. But when that breeze lays down for a second, it's almost instantaneous sweat. So I was trying to get a shot of some of the kids, but they're not interested. The girls came out. I know, Miss Ladybug came out to see me, though. The girls came out for a second, but they're already starting to head back into the shade of the stalls. It is actually much cooler in the barn than it is outside, even though the barn is wide open to the elements. But like I said, I mean, it's just one of those days where you kind of just want to watch. I hate that I'm sweating and all I'm doing is standing. Standing still, that's always a bad sign. But at the same time, it really is just beautiful. The donkeys are out. Look at the grass in the donkey pasture, because we let it rest and have let it do its thing, is so tall. I hope I can get to it. They literally look like they're in a meadow. It's up to their bellies beyond. They are loving it. Most of that stuff out there is brush, it's weed. We do, of course, as I've mentioned before, seed our pastures. Where is everybody? So that it is, you know, there is nutritional content in the pastures, of course, but this time of the year, you don't need too much nutrition. I've come into the shade and the difference is in temperature is actually tangible. That's so strange. Like, you know, usually you come into the shade and you're like, okay, it's just slightly below Hades. There's a significant difference in temperature just from the 4 or 5 feet that I went from outside of the barn toward the cool, darker interior of the barn. I'm not even in the barn, right? I'm just under the overhang. So it explains why everybody's hanging here. They're happy. They're comfortable. And I don't blame them. Why are you guys right here underfoot, huh? So anyway, back to pastures. Sorry. You know, at this time of the year, especially with the animals that we have. The animals that we have are, seriously, you're going to eat my pants? I don't think so. This is why I don't wear nice clothes to the barn. I wear cheap, I don't think they're Walmart, they might be Kohl's PJ pants. And frankly, if they get trashed in, you know, one season, so be it, because that's what they were worth. But having the animals that we do, the donkeys, the goats, you know, those are the guys that really rely on their pastures. Having these type of animals who are brush eaters, they're designed for forage. They're designed not for grazing. A grazing animal is a very different animal. A grazing animal needs grasses, lush, you know, robust foliage in terms of rye and fescue and, you know, other nutritional grasses year round because they're grazing. They're actually eating the grass. These guys are very often not eating the grass, even though it looks like they're grazing. They're eating the weeds between the blades of grass. They're eating the flowers. They're eating leaves and sticks and bark. That's what they like. That's what their digestive systems are designed for. And it's the same with the donkeys. The donkeys are designed for a bit more roughage than horses, for example. Arguably, you know, way back when, before they were domesticated, and somebody rightfully pointed this out in one of my comments once recently, so they were desert animals, right? So you don't have lush, rich grasses. Now these guys are domesticated. Not only are they domesticated, but they're domesticated and miniaturized. They're miniature donkeys. I don't have the itty bitty, teeny tiny mini donkeys, obviously, as they come in around 300 pounds a pop. But they're still mini donkeys based on their height and their stature. And they are uber domesticated. They are long since departed from the days of desert, and they are adapted to more of the husbandry that is around here. So, you know, do I have to keep them on dry lot? No, that is completely unnecessary. Do I need to keep their pastures full of rich, lush, wonderful grasses? Also, no. Right? We let it go. I mean, you're gonna laugh because the mini weenie is in there as well, but you know, we let the pastures. Right now, there's buttercups and clover, and there's weeds pulling up on the fence line, and those weeds are becoming so big they're bushes. That's what they're eating. The grasses are high because it's the growth season, and it's not the grasses that they're eating aren't necessarily the lush grasses that we plant every season. They're eating the weeds and the tops of the, you know, twigs and everything else that's coming out of there. In fact, the trees that are in their pasture have to be wrapped with wire because they will eat the bark off the trees as opposed to eating the grasses. Oh, way to go on my picture. Sorry about that. That's what happens when I start to look away. So, you know, they're loving it right now because it's an overgrown pasture. It's full of all of that brush, and I don't know, there's probably all sorts of different types of weeds out there. And they're just chowing down. So they don't get any hay at this time of the year. They don't need it, but they're also not packing on the pounds. They're chubby. We've talked about that. My donkeys are chubby. I wholeheartedly understand that and recognize it. But that's not because of what they have in their pasture. It's just because, one, they've been overfed hay for several years and it's just never going to come off at this point. And two is over winter, we tend to end up, unfortunately, it's hard not to overfeed them when they're pretty much reliant on hay throughout the winter. And it's pretty much my fault, right? Like I'll grab a flake of hay and they probably only need, you know, 3/4 or 4/5 of a flake of hay. And I'm not going to sit there and squabble over that. And so they get the full flake of hay, which means they're getting overfed during the winter. And yay, that's me. So that's why they're chubby, not because of their pasture. Meanwhile, my goats are looking good. Denali is actually looking a little slimmer. She's nowhere near where she needs to be, but our grain diet is working for her. If all goes well, maybe she'll get pregnant this year and we can bleed that weight right off of her as she pours it into making babies. And I think that's about it in terms of an update. It's just one of those days where I literally just wanted to be out. I mean, I know they're not planted flowers and they're not a planned garden or anything, but just sitting next to the pig pasture that's covered in buttercups makes me happy. Looking out along the wood line, oh, the sun went behind the clouds and there's a breeze. Now all of a sudden it's gorgeous. With the clouds overhead, just makes me happy. So I brought you along with me for the day. But guess what? My lunch break is about over, and so therefore, until next time, there's work to be done. Bye for now.